What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to Historical Board Gaming's The Korean War. This is turn 3, and we got a bit to cover. Alright, so turn 3 will cover the months of October and November 1950. Almost said 1940. No, 1950. As always, we start with the start with the North Koreans. Alright, so the North Koreans. This stupid thing. Whoops. My tripod is getting a little messy. Why is this? There we go. Okay, so North Korea had 32 to spend. They bought 4 infantry and 4 artillery, and then saved 4 IPC. They launched 1 attack. They launched a major assault on Seoul. Let me see if I can't get us in closer. There we go. Alright, so the North Koreans attacked Seoul with 8 infantry, 1 mech, 8 infantry, 2 mech, 2 artillery, 8 tanks, and 2 fighters. Defending Seoul were 17 South Korean infantry, a South Korean artillery, and a South Korean AAA. The battle went 3 rounds. And actually, I have it set up right here for casualties, just to give you the view. So on round 1, the North got 9 hits, and the South got 5. On the second round, the North got 8 hits to the South's 4. And then on the third turn, the North got the last 2 hits they needed, and the South Koreans got 1 more hit. So, the South Korean capital of Seoul has fallen. The North was also able to take over 2 supplies that the South graciously left for them in Seoul. And now with the capital taken, the South is stuck using the factory here in Busan, while the North gains the use of the factory in Seoul. Non-combats, the North is continuing to push troops to the south while also consolidating some of its forces around Pyongyang. And then they deployed all their forces in Pyongyang. And then at the end of the turn, the North collected 38 IPC plus the 4 that they saved for 42 IPC. Alright, going over to China. As always, China had 10 to spend. China decided to purchase another fighter. So they bought another fighter. No non-combats, or no combats, and just dropped no combats, no non-combats, and then dropped the fighter here. And then at the end of the turn, they collected 10. Alright, South Korea. South Korea had 26 IPC to spend. They decided to purchase, what did they purchase? 6 infantry and 2 artillery. They did not make any combat. Their non-combats just involved getting their forces up to the new Allied line up here. Excuse me. So getting their forces up to their new Allied line there. They deployed the 6 infantry at Busan, and because artillery is not ground troops, artillery has to come in from has to be lent to them by the United States, so their artillery will have to stay for a turn. Alright, next. Let's see here. Right? Yes. Okay, so then at the end of the turn, South Korea collected 20 IPC. Over to the U.S. The U.S. had 50 IPC to spend as usual. They bought a strategic bomber, since we have to replace the one that we lost. tactical bomber, 3 infantry being flagged under the 2nd Infantry Division, 1 tank, and then 1 transport. Combat, the U.S. had 1 combat this turn. The 24th Infantry Division's artillery shot into Seoul to try and kill another mech, or to kill a mech that the North had here in Seoul to, help stop the transport of supplies. The artillery barrage got lucky and hit the mech. So the North Koreans lost a mech here in Seoul. And also, like I said, now that the North does hold Seoul, if they can hold it for 3 consecutive turns, that will bring Big Brother China into the game. At least that's one of the ways again. So the clock will start, and the Allies are now on the clock to try and take Seoul back before it brings in the Chinese. All right, so then non-combat, the U.S. Began moving the 1st Cavalry north, or the 1st Cavalry to Pohang, the 1st Armor and some supplies up to Sangju. The 1st Marine Division, its artillery and armor support have landed in Busan, along with a fighter. I thought there was a transport here. Maybe not. I could have swore there was supposed to be a transport. I'll have to go back and look. I think I've made a mistake. I think the U.S. is supposed to have 2 transports there. So I will have to go back through some pictures and some film to double check that. But I'm almost certain there's supposed to be another transport there. But yeah, I will double check. So the 1st Marine Division, artillery, tank, and fighter have landed here in Busan. And then that is it for the U.S. So then they put their obviously they put their forces here on the build pad, and at the end of the turn they collected 50 IPC and saved 1, so the U.S. will have 51 IPC for next turn. All right, over to the UN. The UN had 20 IPC to spend. They purchased an infantry, a tank, and a transport, and saved 2. They did 1 thing of combat. Their strategic bomber from Wigwang went up to Seoul to bomb the newly controlled North Korean factory. The bomber did survive the flak and rolled for 8 damage. So the Seoul factory is now damaged for 8. So that will give the Allies some breathing room, hopefully, at least for a hot minute. And then on the non-combat, let's see here. Their tank in Gwangju moved 2 up to Choan. They had 2 infantry in Gwangju that just kind of used one of the transports to bridge up to Choan. They moved their units from Gangneung down here to Wonju. Just kind of getting the Allied front, trying to reestablish an Allied front right here. Although now I just realized I might have made a mistake with that, but we'll just have to see. Or maybe I haven't. And then the UN did deploy their infantry, artillery, jet, and transport here at Gwangju. And at the end of the turn, the UN collected 20 IPC plus the 2 they saved for 22. Alright, coming up here, because the North took Seoul, because the North took Seoul, I forgot to do this. So now the North has 21 territories to the Allies 16. Wait. Yes, to the Allies 16, And over on the production chart, as we can see, the North has moved up to 38, the South has moved down to 20, and then, as always, China, the UN, and the United States do not move. One thing, I didn't explain this, for the North Korean attack, gosh, I have to go back to their attack quick, because I had to explain two things. So one, we are not doing that rule where you need multiple supplies to attack multiple territories from one territory. And one thing that we are doing is that we had, so the North had 2 mechs here in the 38th parallel with supplies, and then there were North Korean armies here in Chuncheon and Incheon who did not have any supply tokens. So what we are allowing, at least for combat, that as long as a mech has the movement to take part in an attack and can carry supplies, it can allow armies that it's passing through to join it. So they had 3 tokens. They spent 1 token to move the 2 mechs and and then each mech carried a supplies. So one mech took 1 supply from the 38th parallel east, came here to Chuncheon, spent another supply token, and then the North Korean army here in Chuncheon went into Seoul, and then the other mech on the 38th parallel east took its supply token, came down to Incheon, spent it, and that army in Incheon carried the attack into Seoul. So that is the only time that mechs can carry supplies forward to an attack. That they have to have the 2 spaces in order to join the attack and at least have 1 supply and carrying at least 1 supply to allow the other armies to go forward. But like I said, I mean, it was a pretty clear, it was a good cut fight for Seoul, though. I mean, the South's rolls could have been better, but they were kind of a little bit keeping up, at least getting half the rolls that the North did, so that didn't really help all that much. But I mean, I was surprised that the battle went at least 3 rounds, so there was that. Alright, well, that is going to be it for turn 3, and we will see you guys next time for turn 4. So until then, guys, as always, take care.